Call Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
So come on, that's Dawn French for heaven's sake. The least you can do is pick up the phone for her. 0191 488 3188. Now, if you're in any doubt about what toilet trauma actually is.
Pain was an understatement.
So 6 to 8 weeks you go to the toilet.
Really, really bad.
In this, but hang on, forgive me for this, but I have to ask. You have to get it out yourself.
You can imagine, and whatever you can imagine.
Well, with your fingers?
Right? Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
That's how bad it was, and the pain was unbelievable.
So you're sitting on the loo and you're picking bits out your bum?
Well, you know what it is? I have a little girl, and she must have knew something was bad every time I went to the toilet.
Yeah.
And you know how they have these comfort blankets?
Uh-huh.
She used to bring her comfort blankets to us.
So how long were you in there for? Long time?
Yeah, I was.
But after 6 to 8 weeks, you must have been
was
practically solid with it, if you aren't an awful thing to say. But you must have been, because if you think, if every human being added up the amount of natural bodily waste that they would get shot of in 8 weeks and stick it in a bag.
I mean, I'm not joking, you just got no idea of like the pain I was in. And I'm like only like 27.
Well, you're not really bloated and huge.
Yeah, ill, it makes you ill.
Because
to the point of where you just can't even be bothered to, you just feel so rotten.
Full of it, definitely.
But it's funny when they were doing all, it's like a bit of a funny story, like, when they were doing all the tests, right, someone mentioned last night, Pictolax. Pictolax.
Yes, somebody said that, yeah.
Right, well, Pictolax is what they use to, like, totally clear your system in order where they can see what's wrong with you and where the blockage is and stuff like that, right? Well, I didn't realise how Pictolax worked, right? And I'd only been going out with my boyfriend a couple of weeks. And you take a sachet in the morning, a sachet at night, right?
Yeah.
And what the heck is in it, I don't know, because when you...
I think it's dynamite. Well, when you put it this way, when you put the powder in the water, cold water, it turns the water boiling hot and you've got to drink it straight away, right? What, the actual stuff turns cold water boiling hot? It's weird. Whoa,
it's weird how it works.
So some kind of chemical, isn't it?
Me and boyfriend sitting on the settee.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you, I stood up. See, I've got to go to the toilet. You know, Alan, it started falling away from us.
Oh, no.
I'm not joking. And I'd only been going out with him 2 weeks, and there he was, sitting with his hand, scooping it up. Well, it was just what this stuff does to you is unbelievable. It turns it into liquid. I'm running to the toilet, and all there is this trail to the toilet.
Poor soul.
And there he is, scooping it all up.
Oh, yeah, he had a lot on his hands with you, didn't he?
Luckily, he married us.
Wow, that is a call in 3/4. What's your story about being locked in the smallest room of the house? Talking about it, because we mentioned it, it's brought Tim out. Tim has a problem. He says, Alan, I was so constipated today. Do any of your listeners know how to relieve constipation? I'm trying prunes, but it's not helping, says Tim. So what should he use? I mean, he could try this amazing chemical kind of thing. What is the answer for it? Constipation, it's a horrible thing. It hurts. It's bloating. It's nasty. And I know we've got a lot of people that suffer from a whole range of ailments in that neck of the woods. Crohn's disease. That's a lot of nasty stuff out there. Do tell if you've got a way to get past the whole constipation thing. Give me a ring. We promised you. Yvonne from Wallsend. And here is Yvonne. Hello, Yvonne.
Oh, hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well, my love. What you got for us tonight, then?
Well, what's happened is I've been having a bit of a clear out in the house.
Right.
Sorting out all my clothes and shoes that I don't wear or whatever. And then I've got all these favourite boots and things, and I can't get them healed because the way they make them now, they use like a moulded sole, so you can't even recycle your boots. You can't get new heels and soles anymore.
But I thought, isn't that what all of those cobbler, those little cobbler shops you see everywhere?
Well, yeah, but when I took mine, it said you can't get them because loads of the manufacturers now are making them with like moulded soles, so you can't replace them.
Jeepers.
And I can't be the only one who's got favourite boots.
Yeah, of
who
course.
would like to keep them and wear them again.
Yeah, I always thought that the like a rubber sole, you go there, they can put the rubber on any shape that you need, and they'll mould it up to the back of the heel to balance it out. But the whole heel now and sole has to come off all in one go.
Well, they just can't do it. They just said they're not repairable, and I just think, well, look at all them boots that are going in landfill. I've had to chuck out 6 pairs this week, and I'm like, gutted, because they were like my favourite.
And on top of that, more often than not, the top of the boot is immaculate. The only thing that's wrong is the heel then.
Yeah, or the sole.
Right.
And I can't be the only one who thinks it, but I might be. You know what I mean?
Or is it just you?
Am I a bit odd?
I'm just wondering if you're wearing those boots like in the Kinky Boots film, you know, where they're not. These aren't the ones that go up to above the knee. You know, these big.
Well, no, I don't wear them anymore. Like
anymore.
Back in the day. But not anymore. But I know. I mean, I love me Dr. Martens, and I know you can't get them sold because they're like an air sole. But they last for years anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. You can rely on your ducks, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just stunned because I thought that was the whole point of a cobbler. Because most blokes with shoes. And I know we tend to be the species that's possibly marginally tighter than a lot of women. We'll just buy the sole from the shop that sells the soles, and we'll clag it on with some super glue and hope for the best. But the times that I've been to take shoes to the cobblers, it's never been an issue. It's just come back in half an hour and I'll have it sorted for you. I didn't realise that you ladies had this kind of problem.
No, I don't think it's just me. I think it's all new shoes now that the manufacturers are making it so you have to buy new shoes.
Purpose, right.
I think they're doing it on purpose, and I just think it's not good, is it? It's not good for our planet.
Not at all. And I think that if they're doing that, are they doing it because places like Primark are selling shoes that probably cost as much as a good cobbling, if you know what I mean?
I don't know. Probably. Even Marxies, I get mine at Marxies, and they're like moulded soles, and
what's
they're like,
that about?
once they wear down, that's it. And
right, well, I think that is...
I'm getting a bit upset about it.
No, well, I know, because but the bottom line is, you've got a lot of really good shoes. You wouldn't need to buy anything new if you could get them put right. So, Night Owls, I want to talk to a cobbler. If there's a cobbler out there, what is the crack with this? Because if that's what's happening to you... And let's just say there's another few thousand people out there the same.
Yeah.
Cobblers they're all going to be redundant. What are they going to do? And when people bring their stuff to them, they can't help them.
I mean, there still is some shoes that you can get done, but most of the ones that I've
the nice
got
ones
recently, and my favourite ones, I can't, and I'm like,
right.
Like, I'm a bit gutted.
Well,
not that I'm tight and I don't want to buy new boots or anything.
No, but if you can save them, because you see, to me, if the tops are all right, the soles should be replaceable. You know, that's just a given, isn't it? Ah, no, I'm like you. I had a pair of favourite shoes that I wanted to get done, and it was just you know when the front of your sole comes off like a big mouth.
Yeah.
I thought, Doddle, I'm trying to put a bit of glue on myself. And
I've never done that myself.
after 3 days, it was flapping again. So I thought, I'll take it to a cobbler. And the cobbler said to me, it needs stitching on. And I said, so you can't do it with whatever incredible glues you have here. He says, no, that kind of sole needs stitching on, and I can't do it. And I'm thinking, but they're my favourite shoes. And they look beautiful. It's just flappy mouth, you know. And I thought, no, I'll keep putting the glue on, and it'll keep flapping. It'll become annoying, and then eventually I'm going to have to throw them out. But what a waste!
I know.
I agree with you with
it's a waste to me, because they're all on about saving the planet and about clothing. There's too much clothing getting chucked out and stuff. Well, nobody's mentioned boots and shoes, have they?
No, absolutely.
We need a crusade. We need an Alan Robson crusade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Save the shoes and boots.
Don't accept it, cobblers. We need it. Cobblers rise.
Cobbler.
Hey, lovely talking to you, Yvonne. Thanks for coming on, sweetheart.
Okay, thank you.
Take it easy, bye-bye. Seriously. I mean, cobblers will all be redundant. They'll just be making keys. That's it. Making keys. Unless something happens. Is this commonplace, though? Have you had the same kind of thing? Also want your cures for constipation as well. Let me know. Mad Dog McNair. And he says 40-odd years on the nice list. And he sent me a little thing through, which is a picture of Mad Dog McNair, dressed as Santa Claus, reaching out, offering me a sugar cane, like a little candy cane, Christmas candy cane. I was always taught by my mother, grab the Smarties and run, Alan. Grab the Smarties and run if anybody was to offer you such a thing. But Mad Dog, who apparently tells me he's the real Santa, he says hashtag I believe, just a little promotional email. I'm going to start the festive season soon, so would like to point all the night owls to my Facebook page. I'm doing visits, parties, appearances, and video calls to people's children. All profits go to charity. It's facebook.com/UK Santa is real / So if you want a video call of Santa, and he does look like the real Santa, all you do is get on Facebook, UK Santa is real / and he'll make a little message for your little one, whatever their name is, and say, I'm coming to your house, and all that kind of stuff. Closer to the festive season, I'd love to come in and be live on your show for the young night owls. Oh, there you go. That's a distinct possibility. Anyway, glad to hear you on, and hopefully you'll be back weekdays too. I hope so too. Hashtag I believe. Mad Dog, the real Santa Claus. We have Rick, who is with us too. And I'm not sure where Rick is from. Let me have Stockton upon the Tees. Hello, Rick.
Hello, it's me.
Hello, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I don't. Now you're only on once a week. I know I'd call every week and I'd take up all your time, so that's why I leave it every few weeks now.
Always a pleasure, man. What you got for us tonight, then?
Well, I just had a little technical problem there, and your guy Hollywood McShane sorted it out. Apparently,
He can never do that for me. So
well, he did. It must be something wrong, because the very first text I sent you, I was getting a text back from somebody who works at another radio station in Scotland, and he sorted that out as well. So there you go. He knew who it was. I didn't, but he did, and he said, "Oh, I'll sort that out," and he did.
Right, good news.
Anyway, on to me little things. How long have you got? An hour?
Go dive in, man. Go for it.
No, you know me. I'll be quick. First of all, just a thing about, the Nigel Farage carry-on, about, it was in the news, something about knives to pen pushers, and he said he should have said, like, axe them instead.
Yeah.
He meant, like people say, oh, we'll axe them. And, like, because he said, he wants to take the knife. Like, I've heard politicians say, I need to take the knife and cut all the bad bits of the NHS out and get rid of them, So,
right, sure.
But a lot of people decided to, like, try and put a police complaint against him about it, or so it said on the news. Anyway, it's been dropped and everything.
Yeah.
And one of his replies, I've seen him getting interviewed on one of the news channels, and he said, why is it like, people report me for police action against that, and like, that Joe Brand carry-on,
for sure.
Battery acid, he brought that thing up, like,
right.
And I thought, God, what's he coming to, like going on and on and on,
it's
different things.
Just a dirty game now, though, isn't it? It's gone past politics. It doesn't matter what you believe or which side you're on, because it's just a question of how nasty and unpleasant can you be, and what can you make scandalous, whether it was or whether it wasn't. It's not about politics anymore. And first of all, we got sick of politics, didn't we, with the whole Brexit thing? Everybody kind of went, when is this damn thing going to end? Whichever way it's going to go, when's it going to end? And now we've got to a point where you look at the politicians and they're merely fighting their own case. It's not even our case. And that's where it goes wrong. People should be fighting their constituency's case for whatever their constituency needs, but instead it's me. Look at the Boris Johnson thing about did he go off with this woman? And yes, he did, and he stayed in the same suite as this woman, which, if you were taking... Now, I don't know about you, but if you were taking somebody, and this has nothing to do with politics either, because this is like expenses and what have you. First of all, if you were taking somebody with you who ran a business that has applied to you for grants, if you were taking them abroad as somebody to give you knowledge, because she could operate a computer well, apparently, but she was also a pole dancer and a blonde, and everything comes with that.
I've seen the story, yeah.
But would you stay in the same suite? Well,
when you say suite, do you mean is that like the same room, or?
Well, it might be a room, an apartment with 2 rooms.
Oh, if there was 2 rooms and it was the same suite, I probably would, yeah, to save money for starters. You
share the kitchen. Does it not open the door to... Well, hang on, you're taking this woman... You're staying... Really? You would say, well...
Oh, do you mean just like the 2 of us, not with like a team of other people there, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, if it was just the 2 of us, I wouldn't know, because especially if I was in that position, because you'd open... I thought you meant like with like...
No, absolutely. If it was 20 people, there's 5 of us, we've booked a suite, we've got 3 or 4 rooms. No, this is like close, going out for meals, having a walk around the town together. This is kind of... Really? And nobody asked him the question. I saw him being interviewed, and it was supposed to be like the BBC giving him a cuffing, because you're our Prime Minister, so we can do this now. And they thought, what we're going to do is we're going to ask him the hard questions. And the hard question was, did anything happen? And he said, everything was completely above board. Well,
what else
what's he going to say? They ask the question, did you have a physical relationship with this woman? Because that's what everybody wants to know. And he'll probably do what he does about, it's none of my business, none of your business. I'm sure he probably would have done that. And again, this is nothing to do with whether you're Labour or Tory or whatever. This is just purely and simply... Do you remember about 5 years ago, probably 10 years ago now, all that expenses where the bloke needed money for his moat, all this kind of stuff. We're going back there again, where rich people with more money than they can ever spend in their lifetime would still rather spend ours.
I know. There's. I don't know whether I'm allowed to talk about it. There's another story just come on the news tonight. Apparently, some woman saying he was grabbing. You know the one I mean?
Yeah, there's 2. There's 2 women actually, both from the.
Oh, there's 2, is there?
Both from the same event, apparently.
Apparently, it was 20 odd years ago or something. I saw it said in the news. I don't know when it happened.
It was a while back. It was when he was mayor of London, so I don't know whether it was 20 years ago, but it'd be about 5 years ago, so something like that.
I think it was the date. Well, the date I mean, obviously I don't know because I haven't seen it all. But the date I saw, it was one person. It was 1999. It said, and I obviously.
Was he mayor of London then?
I've no idea. I don't know.
It's a bit early, but she said that it was one of her first journalistic jobs that she was given. She was put at a table with him, and there was another woman there. And when she announced that she got her thigh squeezed, the other woman said, I thought it was just me. So it may well be that he's allegedly...
You'd think that, if there's 2 of them and it happened to them both, you'd think they would have done something then, no, wouldn't you? Like, if it was me and I had somebody else, if it was me personally, well, I wouldn't have settled for that straight away. I would have went and sorted it out there and then, if it happened to somebody else in the same room.
You stand up at the table and you say it and it's out there and, whoa, what can you do? I hear that. Then you've got to think, here's a young girl on her first journalistic job. Would he, as Lord Mayor of London, have the power to get shot at her? I don't know.
Because you said it was happened to 2. It's only because you said it happened to 2 at the same time.
But one didn't know about the other one until just now. That's
right. Sorry. I thought you meant at the same time.
No, there was 2 at the same event, but neither of them knew that it had happened to the other one until that first one came out today.
That puts it in a different perspective if it's the first one and that, because he might have, going back, he might have had a bit of power to get shot of a sort of thing.
That's exactly the thing.
Well, ruin a career, let's say.
That's
terrible. What goes on?
You know, we talk about how in America they've got this thing where they try their best to bring out all of these people that have used the casting couch and used and abused women, and it's been just as bad here by the sound of things, hasn't it?
I know. I tell you one thing as well. What really, it annoyed me really. I mean, I'm not a fan of Boris Johnson. I really aren't. But he was really called out, like not just Boris Johnson, other MPs on the Tory side for for shouting, saying bad things, bad names, and all the rest of it. I mean, this is bad on both sides.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've heard some of the terrible things like the Labour MPs have said about the Tories. I just don't think it's fair just to blame it all on the one side, And I'm certain, well, I'm no fan of Boris.
No, but you see, this is what I was saying before. It's gone past politics now. It's just we've got this society where politicians think it's completely acceptable, first of all, to lie through their teeth. Try and break the law because they think they've got more power than the legal system, the judiciary. And now they can call anybody what the hell they like because who's going to stop them because they're MPs. And I think the whole thing's really sad. It's the kind of stuff you'd expect after 11 o'clock when they're kicking out the bar, not from a House of Commons, that's the thing.
It's like what it seems to be at the minute. They're not looking for something political. They're looking for something about the personal life where they can try and bring scandal on somebody. That's what they seem to be doing at the minute.
Absolutely, 100%.
And anyway, I'll move on from that.
Okay.
A quick one. Do you know? You just refreshed my memory. Actually, you mentioned about that priest about the bombings and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it, like a lot of, I know the Good Friday Agreement, a lot of IRA bombers and that, they got released and they've been, the free men, free women, whatever.
Yeah.
And yet, like, a British soldier gets took to court, that carry on with that. Is there just one of them that's on trial at the minute or something?
Yeah, there's one of them, and if there's one of them, talk to anybody that's in combats and they'll tell you they're going after all of them, but they're doing one. Because what they've said is they don't really want to prosecute that soldier because he was just obeying orders and they accept that 100%. They want the person who gave him that order and possibly not even him. The guy above that who said, shoot on members of the British public. Because that's the one they're after. But to get to him, they've got to go after, the British Tommy and see where that takes them. And I understand why they're doing it. But if you do it one way, you got to expect to do it the other way, which means the priest should be arrested. If he's owned up now to helping the IRA bomb the British government at Brighton and giving them information, or we know which room this one's going to be in and that one, blimey, that's heavyweight stuff, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. It's I don't know. It just seems a bit unfair that it's like happening to one side and not the other. Because I understand the Good Friday Agreement. I'm not on about that how all that was sorted out.
Yeah.
I'm just on about like what you've mentioned, that priest. Like, why can he get away with it? And they can't use the defence of it happened like, I don't know, 40 odd years ago or whatever, because obviously that hasn't been a defence for the British soldier.
No, not at all. And also, I mean, even just basically, how does it fit with your faith?
Yeah,
forgive those their trespasses against us. No, I'll help somebody bomb them to death. That's a big sweep if you happen to have forsworn to love your fellow man. Do you know what I mean?
It is naff. And one last real quick one. I heard this mentioned on one of the news channels in a discussion about 3 or 4 days ago. It ran about, if we leave the EU and when we've left it and all that. I think I might have asked you something similar before. Apparently be out with that EU Court of Human Rights, and then for you be open to like people who kill police and maybe it's even kids or whatever, certain people, you'd be allowed to give them the death penalty, and you could maybe have a referendum on bringing it back. Not that they would, but you know what I mean? I'm just stating the fact that once you're out with that court, is it right that you could actually bring it back, or the government could bring it back?
If and when the whole Brexit thing is sorted, if it's sorted and we're not connected to Europe in any major shape or form, we would arguably be able to give the public a referendum on anything. But we can do that now, whether we're in or whether we're out. We could still have a referendum saying, "Do you want the death penalty?" You could absolutely.
But what if it was like brought in unanimously, though?
If it was brought in unanimously, the government. You see, this is interesting because with Brexit they can't do that. If that was brought in unanimously, I think the government would fudge it by saying, "Well, we've heard what the public say. We're now going to take it away and consider it." And then when they consider it, they'd say, "No, I don't think it's in the best British interest." Now, other people have said, "I don't think Brexit's in the best British interest," but they're universally ignored. "Oh, we must follow what the people say." So it depends if it suits them. If it suits their own political bias or their own political interest, whether you want to do it or whether you don't want to do it. And that's the way it always was, and that's the way that it still is.
It'd be an interesting referendum, even just like non-binary, you don't have to just to see what people.
Well, all referendums are non. You don't have to go along with referendums. The whole point of a referendum is for you to gauge public opinion. That's all. The Prime Minister doesn't say we'll carry it out and send letters around every home in the country, sort of thing. Absolutely, that was Cameron's folly right there. But
if he hadn't have done that, I don't think we would have had all this mess.
I think that's distinctly possible. Rick, bless you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, I'll be back again in a couple of weeks. Take care now.
I look forward to it.
I'm listening.
Thanks, Rick. Good man. Now, we should play a track that's loosely to do with everything we've been talking about. And I have found such a track from Duran Duran, but many of them ran about as little kids in the glory that is the northeast of England. And let's hear them talking about it.
I had 40 kids in my class, and the only way to escape this rather dreary existence in Birmingham was to be a footballer or a musician.
Right.
And luckily, we became musicians, so we can still play when we're 50 and not retire when we're 30.
Yeah, I was going to say we were absolutely normal kids, but we all started wearing eyeliner at the age of 8.
Speak for yourself, mate.
Obviously, for that Italian teacher, I can see how the thread begins. But,
exactly.
But no, you get to kind of teenage years where most parents will want you to stick in at school and become as clever as you can. Was there ever a risk of you doing anything else?
The thing is that I think we came of age at the punk rock revolution, and we were 16, Roger and I, when the Sex Pistols came along and the Clash came along, and it was just absolutely amazingly energetic musical movement. I mean, we were both into music earlier, into all sorts of glam, progressive rock. But the thing about the punk movement, suddenly you found yourself at the age of 17 going to see, you might see 6, 7, 8 bands in a week. And they were on stages that were 12 inches high. So you went from seeing big bands at city halls to seeing bands that seemed even more exciting. So
you think I can do that?
Exactly.
No.
Alan Robson's Night Owls.
The phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, you will remember when we took over the stand and they were kind enough to let us just do our own thing with comics and musicians and madness. Well, that's what the stand's all about, and literally just off the stage at the stand, not the one in Newcastle, one of the other stands, we have an American comedian, Abigail Sharman, and hopefully she is on the line right now. Hello.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm good. I just hope I pronounced your name properly.
You said the first part perfectly. The last part is shaman, like what Michael Jackson used to say. Shaman!
All right. Well, what do you get called? Because Abigail is a lot.
Yeah, usually people stop there. I just make radio presenters say the whole thing just to really screw with you guys.
Well, I was tempted just to call you A or Abby, or just work my way up until I got down as small as I could. Tell me a little bit about yourself, though, because you got a fascinating little story. You grew up in the Midwest, but you never really fit because you're pink-haired and tattooed and a bit... Not like the pictures we see of little girls sitting on fences outside of fields in the Midwest.
Yeah.
What was life like for you as a child there? It sounds like there was, you would have to go at some point?
Well, if we dig far enough back into my mother's photo album, I'm sure there's a picture of me on a fence somewhere. Naturally, I'm blonde. Don't tell anyone.
Right.
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio, and then I moved to New York to study musical theater. And now I live in London, and I'm a stand-up comedian. So I'm here to tell you, dreams don't come true, but it turns out better than you'd think it would.
Right.
But yeah, I grew up in a really conservative part of America, and very quickly, I did not have conservative parents, thank God. But very quickly, I learned I can't be here very long. Right. So I went to New York, and then I was in New York for 10 years, and I was like, well, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
So I moved to the UK, and now, right now, I am in Edinburgh. Right. And I just got done with my show.
Great.
And I had a whiskey, and I'm walking through the street, chatting to you.
Hooray.
What a world we live in.
That's fantastic. Great that you're doing so well, and you're going to be a huge name here. There's no question about it. It just must have been kind of schizophrenic, moving from the Midwest, and all of a sudden you're in the city that never sleeps. And I mean, the pace of New York is a fast one.
Oh, yeah, but I moved there when I was 18, so I was young and vibrant and full of life. Now I'm 33, and that's why I've retired to sleepy old London, you see.
One of the things, I've got exactly a story that kind of points one of the things that you say, and you say there's a massive difference between the way that Americans ask for things and how a Brit would ask for things. Americans would say, I want that. And a British person would say, if you don't mind, it would be wonderful if you could possibly...
Yeah.
I don't want to be about... I was once in America, and I can't swim, but I wanted to show off to the lady that I was with that I wasn't frightened of the water, because I'm not frightened of the water. So I thought, I'm going to put one of those life jacket things on. I'm going to get in this lazy river that's 8 foot deep, and I'm going to let it sweep me down that river. I'm not going to worry about it. So we're going to have fun. She doesn't have to miss out. It's all good and all positive, until I got into a whirlpool thing where I did genuinely believe I was going to drown. And I didn't say, help, I'm going to drown, like I'm fairly sure most Americans would. Yeah. I said, excuse me, I think I may be going to drown. Would somebody be kind enough to help? And it's exactly what you say. We are like that. And fortunately, all of the Europeans looked at me as if I was a lunatic, until a big American swathed with very wet sun cream literally picked me up by the shoulders and sat me on the side. And I was very grateful to the gentleman.
You are lucky that the American picked up how much trouble you were in, because usually excuse me, if you wouldn't mind, in America transfers to, nah, he'll be fine. Just walk it off, mate. Walk it off.
Tell me a little bit, though. There's certain things that you feel very, very strongly about. You are one of many people that want to... You've got your own way of tackling gun control.
Yeah, so I don't want to give too much away, because I do talk about it in the show.
Right.
But the American gun epidemic is a serious problem in the States, and is causing an incredible amount of death and hurt and pain for a lot of people. So we need to make the law more strict in America. And I don't think we'll ever get rid of guns completely in the state, because they're fun to shoot. And which people get very uncomfortable when I point that out. But where do you think the term "that's a blast" came from?
No, absolutely.
But so I figured out a way to make the law more restrictive, so it's harder for people to get guns. And I share that with my audience, because I think sometimes when I talk about it, people think I'm supportive of gun ownership, which I'm not. I haven't even shot a gun since I was a child. So it's been a long time for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
There seems to be a big difference, though. I was talking to a British family, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm so glad we live in Britain, where there's not very many guns." And yet, I heard that when they went on holiday to the States, they took their 2 sons to fire a machine gun. And I'm thinking, we cannot have both of those things. side by side. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, fun fact, I took, my boyfriend is English, and I took him home for Thanksgiving, and he was like, I was like, what do you want to do while we're in America? And he was like, I want to drive a monster truck and shoot a gun.
Wow.
And I don't think he knew that I had the contacts to make those things happen. But, you know, my extended family lives in Kentucky.
Right.
And so we went to my uncle's house to shoot guns. And it turns out that my English boyfriend really impressed my Southern uncle with his shooting abilities.
Wow.
And afterwards, my uncle was like, well, you know what, Tom, you're a good shot. You're a natural shot. You just keep practicing. And Tom just looked at him and he was like, that's not a thing that I can really do where I'm from.
Yeah, you'd have to go up to the range and all of that kind of stuff. But that's a good thing. I mean, you must feel safer here, surely.
Oh, absolutely. It's like I'm for gun reform 100%. And yeah, it's just gotten out of hand. No one needs a semi-automatic. No one needs a machine gun. Like, these are not things that are like, even when people argue that they're for protection, I'm like, you don't need that. No one needs that. So yeah, I definitely feel safer in the UK. And then just, I like the vibe here. You know, I love the comedy scene. I've got a great support group of friends here. My boyfriend is English, which means I can bully him into anything. Because when he wants something, he goes, excuse me, pardon me, would you mind?
Yeah.
And I just, you know, and I don't lift him from the river. I just let him drown.
No, on top of that, though, why did you get the idea to become a comic? Because in America, there's a history of a lot of very different comics. You know, the Joan River, I'm going to be terse and quite acidic. And that seemed to be the only comedy route that seemed to be available for a lot of comics coming through. And it was kind of a man's gig.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started as an open micer in 2009. So it very much was changed by then.
Right.
And obviously more comedy is becoming more and more inclusive as the years go by. But really, I started it on a lark. Like, I was doing musical theater. A friend of mine who was also a musical theater person, we were like, hey, I've always wanted to try stand-up. I've always wanted to try stand-up.
Right.
So we went to an open mic in New York City at 11 p.m. on 29th Street, where we got to do 3 minutes of comedy. And I filmed it, and I thought I stormed.
Right.
I thought I brought the house down. You go back and you watch that tape, I died on my ass. It's so embarrassingly bad. But I loved it. I loved it more than I've loved any other type of performance I've ever done.
Right.
So now it's my job, and I love it.
That's great. Well, we can't wait to see you coming down for the 13th of October at the Stand in Newcastle. I know everybody's going to be up to check you out and hear what you've got to say about everything, and probably call you every name except Abigalia.
Yeah. But hey, Alan, you called me Abigalia, and that's all I needed.
Well, mind you, in fairness, the telephonist, when she put your name up on my switchboard, did say Abigaliath. So, so it's an easy one to get wrong. But hey, lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. Keep it going. We're going to be watching you every step of the way. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks. See you later in October then.
Yeah, take it easy, Dan. Bye-bye. How nice. There you go. Abigalia Shaman. And an amazing talent she is. Get a chance to see her at the Stand. Take it. Get yourself down there and check out that lady. Now, we've been talking a little bit about the whole toiletry thing. Jackie's been on and says, Alan, my boyfriend and I use licorice fudge when we are constipated. It works for us every time. I would have thought the licorice would, but isn't fudge kind of blocky-uppy kind of substance? I don't know, just saying. Tony, trusty taxi driver, says, the best cure for constipation is a blue flashing light appearing behind your taxi or a camera flashing twice. No, absolutely can't disagree with that. And also Ben Mabon says, Alan, I only went and got my level 3 dementia qualification. Get in. And then I walked into a lamppost. I was so drunk. Love the show as always. So, incidentally, there's something that's going to be happening that's brand new that you guys need to know about. We're going to be putting out a podcast of a grizzly. You know, we're missing our opportunities to tell grisly tales. So, a little bit more in depth, we're going to be doing some podcasts. There's a lot of dark stories that I've never had the time to be able to share with you. So I'm going to put them down. We're going to be putting out a weekly podcast, and it's going to start this week. A weekly podcast. It starts this week. There'll be a little warm-up, and then there'll be a tale. And the ones we've done so far are all absolutely on the cusp. So they're on their way, and as I say, all absolutely true. And they're names that some of them quite famous, but I've never had the opportunity to tell you their story. So hope you like them nonetheless. Getting a batch of jokes coming in as well. Blimey, a lot of them too. This sounds rude, but it's just funny. Doctors have found a cure for my dyslexia. That's music to my arse. Think about it. And my wife said she was leaving me because of my arrogance. I told her to close the door on her way back in. The cost of living has got so bad that my missus is now having sex with me because she can't afford batteries. And also, good news for insomniacs. Only 3 more sleeps until Christmas. Cruel. And I'm not going to do that last one because it involves sex with animals, frankly. So we'll move swiftly on. Time for a little bit of music. It is too. And then I'm going to be talking to Margaret. Do you remember Margaret's in France, and she's trying to build her dream, her forever house? We'll find out everything about it after this.
Call 0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Okay, now we always give you a clue every hour, and you've got to work out what links all of the answers together. The 4 clue and the prize shall be bestowed upon you if you happen to be that clever person who gets them all right. The first clue is this. This Scottish band was blue and had hits with Dignity, Real Gone Kid, and Chocolate Girl. This Scottish band was blue and had hits with Dignity, Real Gone Kid, and Chocolate Girl. Write that down. That is your first clue. And also, if you live in the concert area, I'm getting reports that thieves have stolen 20 crates of Red Bull from the Asda at concert. 20 crates of Red Bull. I don't know how these people sleep at night. Anyway, let's go across to Margaret, who is in France. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Alan.
Hello. Blimey, I'm surprised you're still conscious. You had a bit of a barbie today, I gather.
Yes, well, yes, we have, yeah, a little bit. This afternoon, after we finish work, about 5 o'clock this evening.
Brilliant.
Only the 2 of us,
Oh,
by the way, that was it.
Oh, that's nice. But was it one of these little tiny, on a silver plate kind of that you heat up? Or how big a do was this?
It was on a little grill in the house that we have,
Right.
that was built, because the house is now felted.
Wow.
No windows in, no doors in yet, but it's felted,
So the roof's
we've
on.
not got any rain coming through.
That's amazing. That's what a great start. Because the last picture,
last picture
you sent me, you were you had the eaves were up, but you weren't covered in yet. So
No, we're covered in now.
great start, great
So
start.
we thought we'd put the grill in the kitchen area with 2 frying pans, with some sausages and some potatoes.
Fantastic.
And we put a little table in the back bedroom because there's no wind in there.
Right.
And we had a nice little barbecue. Oh, it was lovely. Yeah.
How have you been managing toilet wise? Because have you got a netty on the caravan?
Just yes, in the caravan. We call it the what do we call it again, Gary? It's called the Gazunda.
Right. Oh, I see. Right. So you're essentially bunging the waste in the wilderness.
Yeah. It goes into the Gazunda. No, I done it. It goes into the Gazunda, and we take it every other day into where the caravan places go. It's about 10-minute drive. So it's a 20-minute drive.
You make a poo delivery. It's a poo delivery.
Yeah, it's a poo. Yeah, well, shit delivery, a poo delivery, yes. Yes.
Most people would just go to the nearest bush and say, look, it's fertiliser. It's a good thing. No?
So what we do is, Alan, Gary takes it and I spray sort of perfume on his nose. So he empties it in this proper toilet place.
Yeah.
And it comes out and it's...
Yeah, I bet.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So every 2 days, every other day it gets emptied. We bring it home, we wash it out. It's not ideal.
No,
basically, when we get the foss in, which will be our sanitary stuff, that would be fantastic. But it's going to be a couple of more months before we get that in anyway.
So that's when you link up to the sewer system of the place where you're at, the nearest pipes, essentially.
The foss is, near enough, yeah.
Right.
The foss is our own sewage system.
Or like a septic tank thing.
Yes, a fossy tank. A septic tank, that's what it is, Alan, yeah.
Right.
So basically, we drill it out, we dig it out. We have a firm called Spank, SPANC, comes in, like, makes sure everything's all right.
Right.
And then they sign it off. But it's like 3 different systems to go through a year. Because you'll have to ask Gary because I haven't got a clue. All I know is you poo. Yeah, you poo.
It turns.
You do your business. Yeah.
Apparently, in a septic tank, they say, well, you've got to empty them every now and then. I've heard you do, and yet I've heard from other people, oh no, the bacteria does most of that for you. It gets rid of most of it, and I think that's amazing.
Alan, our septic tank will not have to be emptied. When it's emptied, it's only going to be like water,
right?
Because everything seeps to the bottom, and it's good fertilizer and everything. You're exactly right. So, hopefully, otherwise we'll be
up to your knees. I'm making more deliveries, perhaps. That's what we're thinking. Yeah. It's just that when because I had a few people that have commented on websites, and a couple of people have actually said to me, "Oh, I love hearing that woman from France. It's my dream as well. I would love to go. They want to go to Spain and up a mountain somewhere overlooking the sea, and because this is the dream for so many people to get to a point where they go and they have their forever house that you call it.
Oh wow, forever home, yeah.
I think it's such a cool idea, but the price you pay is all the things that you're talking about, and even today on a Sunday where most people have just put their feet up, watched a bit of football. Yeah. You graft right the way through the day.
We've been, it's been, don't get me wrong, it's been absolutely gorgeous this morning. Then it was about 21 degrees.
Wow.
But this afternoon it rained and rained and it rained. But, because we're covered in.
Got a roof on it.
We can do the work inside the house. So I've swept it all out, got it all done. And then I thought, now we're going to have our little barbecue, my little birthday afternoon, evening, and that we've enjoyed it. It's hard work, Alan, I must admit. We come back to the caravan tonight. We have in residence, in our awning, we have what we call, have you heard of a false widow spider?
Oh, yeah, they could do you harm.
Yes, we have a false widow spider resident in the awning.
Right. This is outside, though, isn't it?
This is outside, yeah.
That's
It's
right.
in the awning of the caravan, yeah.
Right.
But it's covered in,
Yeah.
but the flies are sort of sticking to our web.
Yeah.
And she's coming out and she's munching. I thought, well, munch on your flies.
Yeah, stay where you
Don't come in
are.
the house, you know. Yeah. No, she's... and we had a grasshopper, a massive one, on Gary's shoe this morning in his boots outside, and he's squealing, so I had to go out and rescue that, you know what I mean?
He's a big, bulky, chunky builder.
He is a big, chunky builder, yes, exactly, Alan, but he's
a grasshopper?
What can I say? Yeah. Mind it was big, but it was playing the guitar. No, I would...
Brilliant.
You're
getting there, though. Step by step, though, you're getting there. And, I mean, bugs, that's part of living anywhere where there's grass and greenery. Yeah. That's the way that it is.
We have 2 cats here.
Right.
And which we rescued in England. And we took the Spain with us.
Right.
And then they're here now with us.
Well-travelled cats.
And the well-travelled cats and the outdoor cats, they live in the awning, they come and go as they please. But the mice that we get is unbelievable.
Right.
Put it that way.
How come the cats aren't soon? Well, I suppose once you get the doors and windows in, that'll be the end of that, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. I think the cats will settle once the house is...
in place fully.
When we did, I mean, like this afternoon, this evening, excuse me, I were lucky, you know, they came to the house and they were lying around and they know it's our home. But as soon as we come to the caravan, they thought, this is too small for us. Like, we're off. See you later, Mummy. And they're off. They're like,
right.
We might see them, you know, scratching about 3 o'clock in the morning for food. And I don't know. It's just, it's different. It's a totally different life.
No, it is. But
what I expected,
that's when you say different to what you expected. You're in France. I'm presuming that, like the French, you get yourself your French stick, your bottle of wine. Life is sweet, and it's a slow pace. Isn't that kind of what you've got?
Yeah. And I didn't realise, Alan, you're right about the French stick.
Yeah.
The French love their baguettes on a morning.
Absolutely. Queuing out the door.
7, 8 o'clock, and they have these machines. I'm going to take a photograph of a machine.
Right.
They have them dotted all over, and you just, if you don't live beside a patisserie or a supermarket that sells baguettes, you go. These guys put in fresh bread every morning, and you put €1 in, and you get your baguette out of a machine.
How good is that?
It's amazing.
That is incredible.
Only in France.
No, because I remember the very first time I went there, and I went there like a punk kid to do some DJing at a nightclub. I worked there for 6 months, and in Paris, and I got up the first morning and I couldn't sleep because I was all excited because I was in France and I was going to go to the club for the first time and see my new boss and all the stuff that you feel as a real young lad. And I said, I'll go for a little walk. And it was something like 10 to 7 in the morning, and staring at Paris is always a pleasure. But I came out of this place that I was staying at, a place called the Hotel Pretty, and it really wasn't. And I came out the door, and there was a shop open at 10 to 7 in the morning, and it was like the boulangerie, and a queue of probably 40 people waiting for it to open at 7 o'clock so that you get the fresh bread. And I'm thinking, blimey, you'd never see that in Britain where you're queuing up to get a fresh loaf. Yeah, I mean, it just wouldn't happen.
It's like,
sacred, isn't it?
It is. It's very sick.
It's like a Greg's pasty.
Religious. It's They are on a morning. It's bread into them. Bread, pardon the pun.
That is.
They go for their bread, their baguettes on a morning. 7 o'clock, 7:30, and then in the afternoon it's totally dead. From 12 o'clock the bells ring. From 12 till 2, no work.
Nothing. Yeah.
You're not supposed to work. But with our neighbours around here, it's all farmers around here.
Right. Yeah.
We've had a word with them in our Franglish. Do you mind if we work through the dinner hour? You know, because you respect where you are coming from.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
And they've said no. You work. You're building a home. You've got to get it built before the winter comes in.
Sure.
So no, and it's
great.
We've the lady over the road, Mrs. Hook. She's been fantastic. We call the lady at the back Mrs. Silence of the Lambs because I know, I'm pleased you can't speak English. Honestly, because, no, Alan, honestly, you know what she did? She had all these little lambs, and she had guys running after them in the summer, take them away in a white van. I thought, they're getting slaughtered. So now she's named, I call her Mrs. Silence of the Lamb.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's silent, they're all gone. Hey, wonderful stuff. Margaret, stay well. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you, Alan.
A lot of people are looking at your dream as if it's their dream. You're doing it. Good lass.
But you can do it. You can do it. You can do it on a budget as well, you know. Right. If you've got a breeze block, mister, to help you build.
Absolutely.
This is good. Helps you. But
as long as you can
follow your dreams.
Keep the grasshoppers at bay, Margaret. Thank you for calling.
Oh, thank you, Alan.
Lovely to have you on. That's tremendous. Margaret Stevens in Lorraine in France. We've also got Brian from Gateshead with us. Let's nip over there. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Alan. I've got a quick, it's a kind of, who's this song? What it is, my sister moved into a flat and I found a C90 TDK cassette in the loft.
Oh, right.
And I've been playing it, and we wanted to put it through the computer, and I've now transferred it onto the CD. But it's a song about Buddy Holly, but we don't know who it is. But it's a really, see if you know who this bloke is.
It's a song. It's a song about Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Got no idea who this is, Alan.
Okay. Hope we're not going to get it all. Right. Buddy Holly. Right, now come back to me and I'll tell you who it is. Oh, keep playing the song. Come back to me. Don't keep playing the song. Come back to me and I will tell you. Yes. You there?
Any ideas, Ollie?
Yes.
Any ideas?
Mike Berry.
All right.
Mike Berry and the Outlaws had a minor hit with that. There's another song about Buddy Holly that was more up to date, and it was by Alvin Stardust in the probably, I'm guessing, late 70s, early 80s. But that's definitely Mike Berry and the Outlaws from way back.
When was it out? What year was it out?
Ooh, blame me. I'm guessing now it would be probably 62, 63.
Wow. God, he's got a good voice, hasn't he?
Definitely a voice of his time. I mean, he had a couple of hits back in the day, but that's who it is. Hope we helped you, Bri.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alan. That's brilliant.
No worries, man. Thanks for coming on. There you go. Buddy, I thought it was going to be about Buddy Holly. It was about somebody singing about Buddy Holly, but Mike Berry and the Outlaws it was. A lot of Newcastle fans saying, don't mention Leicester. No, I've moved beyond it. But what's happening with Newcastle United would be a question you may wish to answer. 01914 488 3188. An awful lot to talk about, and we would love for you to pick up your telephone and give me a call. We're going to play another little bit of music now, and maybe some more talking with the stars, because we do a lot of that on the Night Owls programme. UB40 have a very distinctive sound. Isn't it strange how we've just watched the music of UB40 spread across the world?
Well, it was always our ambition. I mean, all we ever wanted to do was try and help popularise reggae music around the world, and I'd like to think that we achieved that to some degree.
Yeah, well, after Marley passed away, the baton was passed to us. Really, we were the only band in the position to kind of take over, you know,
Right.
and we did it, which has never ceased to amaze me. I still pinch myself that we've had the life we've had, you know, and the career we've had, and the fact that we're still loving it. You know,
No, but on top of that,
it is a privilege.
If you look at,
sorry,
sorry, man. If you look at the way that the charts work in Britain, album charts and single charts, reggae every now and then dips its little feet in there, and then it disappears, and then dips its little feet. To have the longevity of UB40 is amazing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's happened all over the world, really. I mean, not just us, but reggae, you know, has become a world music. It's become part of pop music the world over. Everywhere we travel, every corner of the globe has got a reggae band, you know, or a dozen. It doesn't matter what country. Japanese, they've got their own reggae. Australia, you know, there's Aboriginal reggae bands. There's Maori reggae bands, you know. Hawaiian reggae bands. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. There's reggae bands.
Sicily.
You know, absolutely. So, you know,
Bratislava, as it was last week.
we feel part of that, and it's a wonderful thing.
No, it's fantastic. Do you ever get a chance to actually see these places where you go? Because you are everywhere.
No, we usually get to see airports, hotels, and venues. And
Not
that's
as
it.
much as we used to, actually. We used to, obviously, when it was new to us, we'd try and get out and about and see things.
Yeah.
But now, as Astro says, we tend to see lots of airports and hotels.
Hollywood McShane there just telling me how he knows all the famous ones, and yet for anybody who likes the whole UB40 thing, get a hold of the greatest hits if you can. And they come out with an album every year or so with a whole batch of new songs, reggae-fied. Amazing. Ali Campbell did an album of stuff like Kink songs and Beatles songs that they made into reggae. It was quite a work of art. Anyway, I've been sent probably the longest text or tweet, or it's a text, isn't it, that I think I've ever had and probably ever read, but it's worth it. Because you can text to, all you're going to do is text the word Alan, 1L, plus your message to 61054. 61054. Text Alan, then your message, 61054. Hi, Alan. We've been talking toilet trauma. Shared you mine. You guys, not exactly slow to tell me yours either. I had the most embarrassing situation happen to me in a bathroom about 9 years ago. I'd been dating my now husband for about a month at the time, and we decided to have our very first romantic weekend away together. Oh, it was all very exciting, as he was a posh southerner and I'm just a down-to-earth northerner, so I was quite nervous to start with, wanting to make sure I didn't embarrass myself. We were staying in a beautiful country house down south, and we went out for a lovely romantic meal. It was beautiful. We came back to the hotel and back to the room, and as you can imagine, this was our first trip together, so it was all very romantic and a very special moment. Not for long. About 5 minutes after being back into the room, I thought, oh, I'm not feeling too good. But I thought it was maybe just the excitement of what was about to come, and it was making my stomach flutter. Now, this is written in capitals, so you know what's coming's tricky. But, oh, no! I went to the bathroom. I shot out of the bedroom and thought, I really need to go to the loo, and not just for a wee either. And I was mortified, but I had no clue what was just about to happen. What came next was like something out of a horror movie. The world started to fall out of my bottom, and I thought, oh no, it's coming up as well. And he shouted, "Are you okay?" as I projectile vomited everywhere. Luckily, the sink was right beside me, so it got most of it. So I was sat there, the world continuing to fall out of my bottom and shooting out of my mouth at 100 miles an hour. It was then that I started to feel very dizzy, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to pass out. At that point, he came bursting into the bathroom to what I can only describe as the most embarrassing, horrific moment ever. I have never been so embarrassed in all my life. He held me up from passing out as I was pooping through the eye of a very fine needle and vomiting everywhere over his shoulder. Even the sink blocked with sick. He unblocked it at the same time as putting up with the smell and the sight of me. It turned out the chicken that I'd had at the restaurant had given me food poisoning. But on a plus, where's there a plus? All embarrassment that we could ever have experienced in our relationship was covered that night. And he did ask me to marry him 6 months later. We were married within the year, and here we are, still all loved up 9 years later. Very embarrassing. Signed Anonymous, and I'm not remotely surprised. So, I'm going to take a very swift break. Then we shall speak to you guys about whatever you want to talk about. Pick up your telephone. We want you with us right now on 0191 488 3188. Get yourself on the Night Owls.
0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, Phil's just sent me a message. You know, when you're sitting there late at night on your various devices, he's having trouble changing his email password, and he wonders if any of you guys have had kind of a similar thing. It won't let him choose beef stew as a password. It keeps saying it's not strong enough. Okay, thank you very much. Cheers to that. And also the toilet songs. I've tried to avoid some of them because they're nasty. A turd found on a grapevine, which is an old Mungo Jerry song, Baby Dump. Oh dear. Pump off the bitter. Pump off the bitter. Rod Stewart on a downtown strain. Aretha Franklin, Who's Pooing Too? Oh dear. And for the anonymous caller, I got the whole world in my hands. Thank you. Runs, Runs, Runs. Play me Jojo Guns. You remember that? That's an old one. Skid Mark Life. And the Womack and Womack classic, Smear Drops. If you can come up with some more toilet songs, we would be very happy to have them. A quick piece of music, and then we're talking to George from Lanchester. sound of Philadelphia before it was a cheese spread. And Margaret, who was on from France, has just sent me some pictures showing me her lad Gary on the roof waving. I waved back. A picture of herself showing how cute she is. And more importantly, and I mean that's quite important in a relationship to have an ounce of cute, but even better, blimey, you can cook. I'm looking at sausage, coleslaw, little potato, like hash brownie kind of things. That was a fine feast. And the first picture kind of summed it up. Bowl of nachos, bottle of beer. Excellent. Thanks for sending the pictures in. Lovely to see them. And the house is moving on. When she says that it's felted over the roof, it is still waiting for the tiles, but keeping the worst out now, which is great news. Then room for the windows and the doors, and they're on their way. Starting to look house-like now, which must give them a little bit of heart. Anyway, let us crack on, for we have George from Lanchester. Hello, George.
House-like now, which must give them a little bit of heart. Anyway, let us crack on, for we have George.
Hello, George.
Good evening.
Hello there.
Hi.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Not bad. Not bad. Better than the weather.
That is good to hear.
It's typical, isn't it?
It is a bit like that. Mind you, apparently they've had it worse down south, and we're getting the tail end of it, so not quite so bad. Have you been all right up there? I mean, you're on a hill. You're not going to get flooded in.
No chance. If we got flooded, well, there'd be nothing where you are.
I've just thought of something that's an ugly question. Do you mind me asking it?
Not at all.
Now,
that'll be 10 guineas.
This. No, you know, we've been talking about these people having all of these horrible awful toilet stories.
Oh, yes.
Now, you know, we're calling a spade here. When I'm at the loo, or when I think I'll take it away from me. Let's say when we, the royal we, are at the loo, we go to the loo, we do what we do, and we tidy up with the necessary tissue.
Yes.
Trying to keep this nice. You can't see the tissue. How do you know when you're done cleaning?
Well, that's very simple.
For those people that don't know, obviously.
Well, that's very simple because when everything's done and dusted, I'm not slipshod anymore.
Oh dear. Right. What you're saying really is though. You get to a certain point. You get to a certain point, and you hope for the best.
Well, you know, don't you? I mean, if you must have been in a situation where you've been in a public loo or in a pub or whatever, where there's either no light or it's broken or whatever. You must have found yourself in the dark at some point, and you manage.
Yeah, you do, but you are hoping for the best very much, because if you are fortunate enough to have the gift of sight,
well, mind if you're in a strange gents and there's no light on, you can guarantee there's no toilet paper.
Either. I know that's true. No, but if you're because I know people that will not leave a toilet until they've dabbed there's any hint of.
Well,
discoloration. I'm trying to keep this as dignified as I can. It's not an easy one.
But what was it? At some penal institution, you're allowed three. This is true. You're allowed three pieces of toilet paper, which were the shiny sort.
Oh my goodness! And good luck. You'd be a bit crispy by the end of the week, I'm guessing.
And the warder used to say, 1 up, 1 down, and 1 to shine.
I didn't even know you'd been in an institution, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, there you go. Right. I'm going to get my own back on some of these strange stories that have been going on. The insect that becomes a herbivore.
Right.
And how that happens is there were 2 ants that were in love, and Daddy Ant said, my daughter is far too good for you, so the marriage will never take place, So the ant elopes.
Oh, da-da-da-da-da-da. Very good. Very good.
Well, I had to get my own back on some of them. And as for that creature that wants to get back into this country after some of the things she said, the first thing that should happen to people like that, they should lose their British passport.
Yes.
And there should be no thought of re-entry into this country.
Well, I mean, that's what they're saying. But the fact that it's front page news makes me think, is there something else going on? I don't know.
Well, the fact that it's front page news shows that they haven't got any real news. And it's quite pathetic. And these people, what they're doing, they're giving them notoriety by giving them front page news. I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't even give them news on the backside of Dulcie toilet roll.
It just seems, though, that woman, when she first appeared, was blasé about the whole thing, thinking, well, it's your duty, you've got to take me back. She's twigged now that, and because immediately she had her citizenship stripped from her. Now, that, as far as I know, that hasn't changed, which means she hasn't got a British passport.
No.
Her citizenship is gone, so she should never be able to get one. She also, you would think, if she got a passport from anywhere else, presumably where she is, they wouldn't let her in the country anyway, if they've got any kind of sense.
No. I mean...
I just hope they've got the bottle to see it through, because there's a lot of lily-livered creatures in government, you know.
Well, oh yes, there certainly is. I mean, this business of what's happening in the House of Commons. Now, many years ago, I was in the Strangers Gallery in the House of Commons, and I was absolutely appalled. What was going on wouldn't be permitted in a kindergarten.
Really?
It's absolutely appalling. They would stand up and shout at whoever was speaking, or they'd be reading a newspaper, or they'd be flicking paper pellets at one another. And they weren't behaving like children. You think, these are people that we elect to represent us, and they wouldn't even represent a kindergarten.
Well, this is what it seems to. We mentioned before when Rick was on from Stockton that a lot of the politicians just seem to want to slag off one another, insult their mothers, you know, are threatened to kill people. And
there's a whole list of words that MPs are not permitted to use in the House. Did you know that?
I am aware that some of them are considered a no-go area, but that should be for the Speaker to slap down should they ever arise.
The Speaker has the power, actually, to suspend the sitting, and that's what he should have done.
Yeah, I think so too.
And said, when you come to your senses, you'll be permitted back.
Yeah.
And these are people that we pay big salaries to represent us, and in the end, once they're elected, they forget all the rubbish that they've told people, and they're there to further their own ends.
Yeah.
And they are. That's what they do.
A lot of the things they do, though, are so juvenile to those of us looking in. It's like they don't need to be suspended. They need a naughty step. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I was saying about a kindergarten. It wouldn't be permitted in a kindergarten.
No.
And they get away with it. And they are supposed to represent the constituency, but in certain things, like the bringing back the death sentence, whatever. The last time that was mooted, they were told they had a free vote. They could vote to their own conscience. Well, they don't have a personal conscience when they are elected by people to represent people. They're not there to say, this is my feelings, or this is what I want.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting, because, you know, we hear the phrase a lot when we're watching our television news programs or listening to the news on radio, and we hear about the whip. They use the whip. And the whip is essentially to get them to do whatever the government or their party want them to do.
That's right.
And 9 times out of 10, it's not what their constituents want; it's what the party have decided to enforce on there.
And there are different levels. There's a 3-line whip, a 2-line whip. A 3-line whip is very serious. It's a case of if you don't do what we want, you'll be chucked out of the party, sort of thing. And
but isn't it funny though, because
of the time I think it's whipping a dead horse myself.
But surely the only thing that an MP has to do is keep his constituents happy by doing what they are looking after the constituents, essentially.
Yeah, what the constituency wants,
whatever they need. That's the person's job. And then you say that well, I'm in London most of the time. Well, if you're in London most of the time, how are you looking after your constituents?
Well, that's it. I mean, you could have, for instance, you could have an MP in living in London or even living in Devon, and his constituency is in Berwick.
Seen that a few times, especially some of the Scottish MPs who he spends 9 months in the south of England and 3 months in his constituency, and they're in like a fortnight here and a fortnight there. So how you would really know what's going on in your patch if the majority of your time you're nowhere near it? It just doesn't make sense.
I think it's particularly difficult for Scottish MPs because there are so many things now, laws that are different in Scotland than in England, yet he's sitting in a UK Parliament. So, you know, it's who does he support or she support?
Do you think they should split altogether and go totally independent if this Brexit thing does its thing?
Well, if they want to, sure. But again, they had a referendum and it went against splitting. Didn't it? Yeah,
but this was before, when they thought that the rest of Britain was going to stay in Europe, and all of Scotland, pretty much, something like 90% of Scotland wanted to stay in.
Well, I don't know. That was when they had the referendum initially about splitting up. I don't know that generally splitting away from Europe was on the cards.
It wasn't even mooted at the time. You see.
So I mean, you've got to go by what it is at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And if they want to have another referendum, I mean, but these dum dum. Well, I mean, a referendum, it should be referendi, I suppose.
I think referendum, but with a B on the end.
Well, dum, yes. It's
referendum, definitely.
It's a case of if it goes the way some people want, fine. If it doesn't, then they want another one because no, it wasn't right. They were told lies and all the rest of it. And if they had another referendum now about Europe and it went the other way, then the other side was saying, oh, no, you'll have to have another one because we're told a load of lies about this. And I think it should be best out of 5. And that way we can keep the pot boiling for the next 30 years.
Yeah, we'll be out by about 2050, maybe, unless we choose to stay in on the last vote. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Hey,
but
great.
As I've said, in the past, though, when we first went into Europe, it was nothing to do with politics. It was a trade thing, and it was called the common market.
Yeah.
Now, over the years, it's been gently twisted and warped to being the European Union, and it's totally changed. We were told your own laws and sovereignty will not be affected. Cobblers, of course it's affected. But it's been changed from what it was originally.
No, we can't argue with that. But you're right. But just to take the other side, because my job to be devil's advocate, on the other side of that, you've got... There was a lot of positive things that came out of it as well. I know we said, but you put a lot of money in it. We used to get, and we are still to some degree getting, an awful lot of charities benefited from European grants left, right and centre. And when they've been stripped back, the British government's not going to come in and help those charities out. They're disbanding homes for people suffering from mental health, children with, issues. They're not getting the help they need. The disabled aren't getting their 24-hour care because a lot of the care systems that are automatic across Europe had to be done here too. So we're losing some things. We may well be gaining others that we don't know about yet. But it's not black and white is the point I'm trying to make.
No, it isn't. And there is no easy answer. But on the other hand, it's entertaining our beloved representatives in government.
Oh well, as long as we can be of use to them. Honestly, it should be the other way around always. But hey, George, always a joy. Thank you for coming on, man. Great hearing from you.
Thank you again, Alan.
Look forward to it, man. Bye-bye. Isn't he great? George there. Solid. He's obviously a Brexiteer. But I love that. Brexit, best out of 5. Which would mean we're going to have 4 more referendums, just to be sure. And then if it's still the same, then we leave with a deal or without a deal. Doesn't matter. After 5. Or we stay in. Or we have... Wouldn't it be if we did this, Brexit, best out of 5? First one was to leave. Second one would obviously be to stay, wouldn't it? Third one, leave, because they built it up. And then fourth one, stay. Wouldn't it be typical if you had the 5th one, like the decider, and it was exactly 50-50? Wouldn't that drive you mad? Love this. Alan from Dom. A joke for Alan from Dom in Washington. Hiya, Dom. I love eBay. I've sold my homing pigeon 10 times. Oh, dear. No, I don't think so. Let's go instead and talk to William from Castletown. Hello, William.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, mate. Thank you very much for my card and my little gift. That was very sweet of you.
Did Jennifer get hers?
She did. Thank you very much. She got hers in time for her birthday, and I just got mine today, so thank you very much.
Okay. Alan, thank you for the mug and the T-shirt.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Well done.
It's brilliant.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad you got it.
I'm still in pain. I've got a lot of pain in my back.
So what's happened with that? What's that all about?
It's just cold, Alan.
Oh, blame. So nothing you can do about it?
No, not really. It's just old age.
You want to get one of like a hot water bottle for it when you're in bed, just to put on your back when you're sitting up. It might ease it a bit.
Yeah, also.
Because I mean, you can get those heat things for it, like heat pads. Are they for you?
Yeah, heat pads.
Yeah. Might be worth thinking about, just because we don't want you suffering, obviously.
I know. And thanks for. Thank you for Stephanie, you know.
Right, okay.
I'm at my niece's wedding.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's nice again, Steph.
That's good.
Give my regards to all the night owls and you and all them.
I'll certainly do
and,
that.
When Hilton Castle opens, I will tell you.
Right, okay.
Just doing out and putting things in.
Right, I see.
Yeah, when it opens,
you let me know.
I'll let you know. I'll send you a card.
I'll watch out for it. But thanks again, William. Stay well, mate. All the best.
I welcome. I'm most kind of my friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully you've got a few around you looking after you.
Oh yeah, I mean, my sister's in Tenerife.
Right, right, having a bit of time off. Good.
And I'm after the house, and all my nieces are coming in.
Well, that's good. That's good news. Good news. Stay well, mate.
You well done.
Look after yourself. Take it easy. Bye-bye. William there in Castletown. Lovely fella. A gentleman no less. And Mark's been on. He wants some advice. I'm going for a viewing of some newly built flats on Tuesday. Now, the rent is £425 a month, and it's in a tax band A area. That's the top one, obviously. Just wanting to know, will I get help and support with my rent and stuff? I get job seekers allowance and PIP for my disability, which is Asperger's. I get an enhanced rate care part of PIP, but nothing for the mobility part. I think this is very specialist stuff. If you're geared up to be able to answer that, please do. Will he get help with his £425 a month for his A-band flats? If he's going to have a view, if he likes them, obviously he'll be snatching it. What is the blah? Well, it's whatever's trending, whatever's happening. It's whatever's going on, whatever's getting on. We getting on with it. We always start with a look at the front pages of the new days today. We are now entering Monday. I know it's a scary thought. We'll tell you what's going to be on the front pages of the newspapers as you gather them up on your way. I shall also be joined by award-winning producer Hollywood McShane.
Evening.
And also, we're talking about toilet traumas. Before we even get started, you had a toilet trauma, Nicola, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I went out on the drink a couple of months ago.
Sunderland?
And, in Sunderland. And I ended up, I woke up thinking I was at home, but I was actually in the toilet cubicle asleep. I mean, the toilet was down, the door was shut, and I had my feet rested against the door, keeping it shut.
Were you fully dressed?
But, yeah, totally. But
and your mates just left you there?
Well, they had tried to ring us. This is the thing, they tried to ring us, and when I've come around, I was like, oh, I'm in the toilet. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. And a couple of them were still online because the club didn't shut till 6, so they were like, are you okay where you're at? So I sent a picture of the toilet going, well, I've just woke up in the toilet. So I had to ring one of my friends and he had to guide us out of there like it was the Crystal Maze because I just didn't have a clue.
How to get out the emergency door so you could shut it behind.
The front door was locked and I just thought, oh, no.
Wow.
So I booed out the fire exit door.
It's a classy crowd we've got working for us tonight, isn't it? Let's take a look at the newspapers. Feel free to join in at home and give me a call if there's anything you wish to mention. And the Daily Mail, women driven to the brink by the care crisis. Shock figures show the toll on female carers' mental health. And Boris's blonde told her friends they did have an affair. There you go. Paid for by you. There you go. Daily Express. Boris rally cry. Get Brexit done to fix divided Britain. And also a bumper rise for pensions. Inflation busting increase of 4% on the average pension. So there you go. State pensioners will be better off by £351 a year.
It's better than nothing.
No, absolutely can't argue with that. Anything that goes up is better than anything that
pay the TV license
goes down. I know. Typical, isn't it? Information newspaper. Compulsory vaccination targeted for UK children. You know, for years they had that thing where they were saying if you got your measles, your mumps, and your rubella, the MMR, if you got that, people were saying, oh no, then your child's more likely to suffer autism later in life, and I'm not going to get it done. Now the government are saying we're going to make it compulsory so the parents don't even have a say. What do you think?
I mean, I had mine.
I think I had mine.
Yeah.
I must have done.
I'm sure it was compulsory when I was younger.
Yeah.
I got mine, but I got mine all separate. You see, the argument is you shouldn't get them together because the chemicals all have a reaction.
Is that the one that you've still got your scar on? Yeah.
That's your BCG.
Oh, so it's not even the right.
BCG used to be the one where as soon as anybody got it, you would find out which arm they got it in, you'd punch their arm for the rest of the day.
Ooh.
Mine got infected off South Shields water.
Don't you pick on the sand dancers' water.
What's wrong with the water?
What's wrong with South Shields? How dare you?
It all went...
Gammy.
Yeah.
You went swimming. Ooh.
Yeah.
Is it all right now, or did you?
It's like a little crater.
I've got a scar on. I think everyone's got a scar, haven't they?
I thought everybody got a scar on it. Everybody gets a bit of a crater.
It's got a freckle in it. It's weird.
Now, I think if there was going to be a password for tonight's show is Nicola's has a freckle in hers. There you go. And it's mad. Right. Anyway, let's see what else the newspapers have to say. The Sun. Debbie Harry talking about heroin, Bowie and her. Prime Minister Fury at grope claims. And Perminator. A monster puss is on the loose. And they've taken a picture of some cat yawning to make it look like it's vicious, which is the Sun all over. Daily Mirror. An abuse of power. Ex-model told mates. Ex-wife furious at the latest betrayal of trust. Ex-model told mates she had an affair with the Prime Minister. So she's telling everybody. It's not, it's not like it's a secret. And the journalist claims he groped her under the table. He's an unlikely Lothario, isn't he? He's just, if this was like Brad Pitt and every woman would deep down would quite like it to have a knee squeezed by Brad. Maybe you would kind of think it, but look at him. It looks like Wurzel Gummidge. But he's not. Is he sexy in any way?
Not at all.
Presumably he's a millionaire, so I can understand women going out with him. But usually it was alcohol that got sex for people who looked like that. Do you know what I mean? But money does it too, apparently. The Guardian, Prime Minister forced into denial of claims that he grew up 2 women. The other woman's come out there as well. And there were 200 people living in my village. This is in, I think it's Libya. Now it's just ghosts. The Times newspaper, children face a ban from school if they don't get vaccinated. And breathing polluted air, this is the Times, breathing polluted air on an exam day can lower students' grades.
It's a bit strange.
It's a bit random.
You can't help breathing the air you breathe, can you?
Whatever it is. And how do you know if it's polluted
exactly
or not? I would presume if you live in a city.
But then that's where most of the unis are.
More likely to be, well, absolutely, more likely to be polluted. On to the Daily Telegraph, a plot to force Johnson into a Brexit extension. And the special feature is Margaret Thatcher herself alone, which is a bit late, I would have thought.
I think so. Is it an anniversary coming up? Must be.
I don't know, maybe. Free supplement, part 3 of the Margaret Thatcher thing. It's a Telegraph
She's
thing.
coming back from the dead to sort Boris out, isn't she?
Yeah, well, she would want Brexit too, apparently.
Do you think?
Well, that's what people are saying, that it would be her choice, which then
Do you
makes
think she'd
everybody...
get something done, though, wouldn't she?
But that makes everybody who voted out to think, so I'm on the same side as Margaret Thatcher.
That's probably why.
That's a head trip. Head trip right there. Independent newspaper. Can Wales go all the way? Do you care?
Hopefully.
I hope so too. Good luck, the wearers of the red. And Boris Johnson forced to deny groping accusations. The Metro newspaper. Cracknell, first out of Strictly. And a vile show of hatred. Hanging effigies and a sign demanding the death of Tories at the start of their conference. It says 130,000 killed under Tory rule. Time to level the playing field. Oof, blimey. And when we've had ministers killed and attacked on the street, that's not remotely funny. And get Brexit. And there's a picture of Boris marching, looking like he knows what he's doing, on the front of the Financial Times. And then it says, Draghi backs call for a fiscal union to bolster the Eurozone against rivals.
A Draghi back?
Draghi. I don't know who Draghi is. Mr. Draghi, I would imagine, is probably the European Central Bank president. And he's called for a fiscal union to bolster the Eurozone against, presumably, Britain if we eventually Brexit. That's all of the newspapers. Let's take a listen to what you guys have got. Over to you, toilet sleeper. What have you got?
Have you ever been accused of something when you've been in a shop, like shoplifting? Or...
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did you pinch?
What did I pinch?
Did you pinch anything?
I did not pinch. I bought a suitcase in Woolworths on Northumberland Street in Newcastle when it was there. And I was walking through Phoenix, the shop next door, with said suitcase when 2 heavies from Woolworths, woolly bully boys, they grabbed me and they dragged me back to it's very embarrassing. and it was just they hadn't taken the tag off the bag. And when I showed it to the woman, oh no, he's paid for that. And I had me.
Did you set the alarm off when you went out? Is that what happened?
I didn't hear any alarm. I walked out the side and I was just followed, grabbed, embarrassed, taken back. Just showed them me receipt.
You think they'll ask for it instead of dragging you back first?
You'd have thought so, but it's very embarrassing. Why you ask?
Well, there's a guy, he was out shopping last week with his wife and his grandson, and he'd spent £400 in a shop, and just before he went to leave, the store manager grabbed him and said that he was smuggling items in his pants.
Ooh.
So he said he was a little bit gobsmacked. Obviously, he got taken out the back and they had to have like a discussion and everything.
Had to take his pants off.
So he didn't have to, but he did. Took his pants down. He stood his boxer shorts to show that he had a bit of like a long 10-inch manhood, and they thought he was actually smuggling underpants. They said that he looked a bit suspicious walking around and he kept dropping stuff. There's a photo
He
of
was
it.
smuggling his own penis.
Yeah.
A 10-inch penis. Are these real? This is to me.
Well,
this
he's not
is
going to
like-
have a fake one in there, is he?
But this to me is. I'm sorry. I think I'm reasonably equipped. You know, in normally equipped. I'm not saying extraordinarily equipped, but when I hear, well, his was, and this is not when it's a rouse ring.
Well, I know it must be.
This is like 10 inches.
There is the photo there, and it does look like a large bulge.
You seem to have spent
Would
a
it-
rather long time checking this
Well, no,
story
it
out.
was-
You got his address as well?
No.
No, okay.
He's trying to get him on.
Say nothing.
No, but I mean, 10 inches, is this real? Have you experienced
must-
such a thing in real
I think
life?
my granddad's still listening, but
I bet best
No.
move on. Yeah, best move on. Night Owls, is it really true? Because there used to be a guy who was a porn star, or so I've been told, called Miles O'Toole. His name was Miles O'Toole, and his was supposed to be like 15.
Wow.
Before it got, if you know what I mean. And I just find
You just
that-
constantly have people looking at you, wouldn't you?
I
You'd be,
know.
unless you liked it, I guess.
Well, unless you
The
just
thing that got me,
baggy trousers you wear, don't you?
The thing that got me though, the picture that's with it is of him, and he stood there like with his arms folded, his pants are around his ankles, and he's got his boxer shorts on, and his
Is
partner's
it
there with
curled up
this
like
big long
one of
ruler.
those Cumberland sausages?
But his partner stood beside like that, with seriousness on her face, just holding this ruler as if to say like, oh yeah, it's true.
Just measured it.
It's just,
Well, she would have experienced it one way or another. So there you go. Don't we live and learn? Don't we live and learn? Hollywood McShane, how can you follow a 10-inch portion?
I don't know if I can, to be fair, but while we're on toilet subjects, I thought I'd get a blast story related to that.
Okay,
So,
fair
using your phone on the loo can cause piles, an expert's warning.
What?
Basically, using your phone, because you're sitting there, you're on there for a long time, you're looking at apps, you're looking at Facebook.
Speak for yourself.
No,
right?
well, I don't. I never take mine to the toilet, but apparently lots do. And
Right,
the prolonged sitting on the toilet is what gives you piles.
Oh, is it?
Apparently, people used to take books into the toilet.
Yeah, oh yeah, books and magazines. Sometimes you used to have magazines lying there.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, but is that not just you're sitting there for a long time reading
do
the
you know
book
why I
as
did
well?
it though? It was I wasn't actually like on the toilet. I would take it and pretend I was on the toilet, so I didn't have to do any housework for me mum. I'd be like, I'm on the toilet. Leave
Just
us alone.
intrigued what people
Read the
do.
magazine, just
Yeah, I'm just intrigued because I wonder what other people do if they don't read a book or.
Well, I've seen in toilets books, but I always presumed, well, they must be reading in the bath, because you know, in the bath you've got a
Yeah.
bit of time and you can luxuriate and all of that.
You're not going to get far in a book if you're just having a paragraph every time you go in or
popped in for a quick paragraph.
Exactly.
get 3 words, would you?
Apparently, someone
They would do it.
suggested that you should get a dictionary in there, and every time you go, learn a new word. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Just open the book where it lands, and on that page, learn a new word that you've never learned before. Instead of scrolling,
No,
you know.
I know. I hear
It's-
what you say. It's an education.
I'm not sure what else you could do when you're in there. To be fair.
Well, you could.
Apart from, well, yeah, I'm just go and do that. I
Remember
don't
when
do
I was
anything
younger
else.
as well,
I don't multitask.
But that's what it is, isn't it? Really,
It is.
You should concentrate on what you're doing.
Do you know when you used to hang around the streets when you were younger? Like, instead of sitting on computers and that.
Waiting for
And
the guy
all
with the...
all the older
anyway.
people would walk past and be like, I get pale sitting on that wall.
They all said that. They all
Stuck in
said
my
that.
head.
Is it
Not
true
sitting
there?
on the
But is it,
toilet with a phone.
I've never heard of sitting on the... I thought straining was the thing. That
Well, it's just prolonged sitting on the toilet scrolling. Apparently can give you piles. It's an expert.
Straining, I think.
Dr. Sarah Jarvis.
Oh,
is,
we've had Sarah on the show. She's
exactly.
nice.
We should get her on and ask her why.
Get her on as well. Talk about her scrolling. There you go. So you, Lorne, if you're listening to this on the toilet and you think, and you finished 5 minutes ago, but you're still there, check your hems. Check your hems. You might have a hem coming. Anyway, we hope not.
Night Owls with Alan Robson.
What are we talking about next? You make the call. 0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
You are with the big one, Alan Robson, on the Night Owls. Spread the word of the owl as ever. Getting some more pictures from Margaret there of their forever home, showing how it's just come on very, very quickly. And Compson as well. Hi, Alan. I hope you have a lovely birthday on Tuesday. I will endeavour to. Didn't know where to send a card to. But the best thing for constipation is a thing called Senna. They give you that in hospital. You can take 4 tablets if it's really bad and then take them down to 1. It's not like other remedies because this helps your bowels work the way they're supposed to. Then eat some fruit and fibre like Weetabix, shredded wheat every day. And it is so good to have you back. And thank you very much indeed. Let us crack on. We've got James, who's in Merseyside. Hello, James.
I'm on the Wirral, yes. Hello, Alan. I was the
Hello.
one who came on and told you about the Berwick-upon-Tweed Bridge and said Dumpty 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 Dum. Remember when I came
remember it very well. So I gather
Yeah.
you've got some help for us tonight.
Well, possibly. I'm not an advisor at all, but I was in a similar situation to this gentleman. He was saying 425 for his rent and stuff.
Yes.
I have Asperger's, but I'm also partially sighted, so there's a double whammy for me. But I now don't live in rented accommodation. After my dad died, I live at home. But basically, about what happens is, I know which local authority area is in, but each local authority has a different rate for housing benefit.
Right.
So, like on the Wirral, 20 years ago, it was £391 a month.
Right.
If you were in accommodation that was slightly over that, if it was the same, if you got that housing benefit, you wouldn't have to pay any extra to the landlord.
Right.
But on certain occasions, if the rent was a little bit higher, then in some circumstances, the local authority would give you what would be called another type of housing benefit.
Right.
It's a top up, basically.
Right, I see.
Which is done discretionary housing benefit. That's right.
Right.
It was called discretionary housing benefit, but each local authority will have a different rate.
Gotcha.
So what I suggest he does is to go to the housing department tomorrow or whenever he can, because it's possible if it's sheltered accommodation or what, because it might well be, and I'm not saying it is for certain, but it might be that certain properties are assigned for certain people, certain disabilities. There are places like that, but they are when they're set up, they have a specific rent aligned to it so that it fits within somebody's budget. But if it's not, and the rent is higher than the local housing benefit, go to the housing department and see if they can get this discretionary housing benefit, and it will top up to what it's meant to be, and the landlord will get his entire entitlement, and the tenant won't have to pay anything. If he doesn't get this discretionary housing benefit, then he'd have to pay the top up himself.
Right, that makes
But
sense. Makes
I
absolute
don't know whether it's still in place. I'm talking about like 20 years ago to 10 years ago. I don't know whether it's changed since then, but it might not have done.
No, it's a good
And it
place
would-
to start, though, James.
So
You've
go to the
given good
housing
advice.
department, the local housing department of whichever local authority is in, and it will be different in each different local authority. I'm not sure how many you have over there, but in like Liverpool, over the other side of the water here, would be different to Wirral's one.
Right, no, for sure.
They're not all the same nationwide.
Gotcha.
All right.
That's great, James. Thank you very much. Anything
So
else
I
while
hope
you're on?
that helped him. I'm not an advisor, but I hope I'll be able to help him in some respect. And I must admit, Asperger's is one condition that is it can be very distressing if there's a change in circumstance. It's one of the very obvious symptoms of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can understand why you'd be rather upset about it or rather anxious.
Anxious, I'm sure.
So go to the housing department
Good job.
and see what they can do for him.
Top job, James. Thank you very much.
All right.
Good man.
No problem.
There you go, James from the Wirral. Nice one, Wirral. Nice one, son. Nice one, Wirral. Let's have another one, as they used to sing. 0191 488 3188. Get your calls in. Here's the thing.
This is the home of Alan Robson's Night Owls.
With the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
You are with the big one, Britain's most listened to. Thanks to you lot. Let's keep the kettle boiling with a couple of gags, and then we've got some folks to talk to. Chris says, Alan, let's see if I can get flushed. Now, there's a few here. Why were there balloons in the toilet? Because it was a birthday party. Okay. Why was Eo down the toilet? Because he was looking for poo. Dear. And why couldn't the police catch the toilet thief? All together now. Because they had nothing to go on. Ah, there you go. Down the Night Owl Netty. Chris the truck driver from Wild's End. And did you ever hear the film Constipated? It never came out. Ah, very good. Right, couple of clues as well. You're on your third clue now. Let's see if you could win a prize tonight. The first clue was this Scottish band was blue and had hits with Dignity, Real Gone Kid, and Chocolate Girl. The second clue, a person who makes suits. A person who makes suits to wear. Third clue, the type of pole danced around in a pagan fertility ritual. The type of pole danced around in a pagan fertility ritual. You have 3 clues, 1 more clue to come. Do not enter this competition until you hear all 4 clues. Matthew is with us from Newcastle upon Tyne. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Alan. You all right, mate?
I'm good. What you been up to then?
Well, I played the Call of Duty test engine last week.
Right.
And I've had a good time playing it.
Right.
And it's good. The game looks really good. I'm looking forward to getting it when it comes out in October. And yep. And happy birthday for Tuesday.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. I'm saying so it's a good game. There's no zombies in this one. There's going to be cross-play. We can play against PC players and PS4 players, and that'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. So no zombies, though. Blimey, we're going to miss the zombies, aren't we?
Probably going to miss them already.
No, I was going to say, because you like your zombies.
I love zombies, yeah. I like killing the zombies. I like the Dead Rising games as well. The Dead Rising games are pretty good as well, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. I've heard of them. I've never played them.
Yep. They're pretty good games. You're a photographer on the first one, and you take photographs in that. Do you know what I mean? Yep.
Sounds great. I mean, how many games have you got now? You must have thousands.
I've got 100 games.
That's tons.
Yep. The Xbox one, you can play backplay now. You can play like backplay and that. And the backward compatible with the Xbox 360 games and Xbox original games. That'll be good. No. Pretty good. 3 more things, Alan. You only said about Boris Johnson. I don't think he's a good leader. I think if he's already harassed 2 women, he's not going to stand a chance, is he?
Well, just nowadays, with the likes of Donald Trump seems to get away with everything he does, it looks like Boris is going to get away with most of the stuff he's done.
Yep. I'm saying if Boris Johnson gets away with most things, why can they not just sack him and say he's out the White House, you know what I mean? Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Out the Downing Street, Downing Street.
Right, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Because when I saw him on the telly, all he could hear is Boris Johnson this, Boris Johnson that, and then I was watching an advert about a programme and Donald Trump was on the advert, and I said, what's he doing on there? Ian was on his holidays last week.
Right, but is he taking you out this week?
Yeah, he's picking me up this Wednesday, and I'll go down the beach with him.
Brilliant.
And make me try to behave. So I might even put Elvis on.
Hey. He should do some Elvis moves for you. That's what he should do.
He probably will. I was going to get him a wig, get Ian a wig, but you know, things. The weather's been very nice this week, has it? By the way,
weather's been a bit dark, but the only thing is just put a nice warm coat on and out you go.
Yeah, but nice warm coat. I hear you know when you get poorly, you can eat soup and it makes you better. Soup it's good for you because it's iron. You know what I mean? It's iron, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yep. I'm saying they advertised the Pleb program, you know, Plebs. It's on tomorrow night, Plebs, that Roman program.
Yeah.
On Monday. You know, when Night Owls was on Monday, by the way, Alan, your program, Plebs was already on the telly as well.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. You're going to be... The fact that we're not there, people are finding all these other things out now in this
we will definitely get some more days. I hope we do.
I hope so too. Absolutely, that's what I'm.
If we don't, there'll be a protest outside the door. More things out there.
Well,
you know, if you could be a game designer on Call of Duty, what would you put in the game? Would you put owls in the game if you want to put like owl zombies or something in the Call of Duty map?
Owls. Well, you see, you couldn't have owl zombies because that makes them bad ones, and owls are always good and wise and clever.
Well, you could put like good zombies in it. Would fight the bad zombies. I mean.
Oh, we could have giant owls that you ride on the back of.
Yeah. Giant owls.
Yeah, because they've got big claws and they could snatch up a zombie.
Yeah, I'm saying about Xbox 360. You know, if you buy like thermal paste and you fix the processors inside, it stops it from overheating and you don't get the red light as much. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, that's
but Xbox 360s are still around today and still buy them and play online.
You're learning all the tricks about them as well. Good.
PlayStation 3, it's only a leap. You can get it for DVDs, but you can't log online anymore. I think Sony's discontinued it. I was annoyed with him. 3 more things out there. What theme park would you like to own, by the way?
Would I like to own?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd like to own one because then you've got to be responsible for everybody.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not huge on theme parks, but it would probably be Disney.
Yeah.
One of the Disney ones probably, or Universal.
I'm saying if I owned a Disney park, I'd make sure Ian was an engineer because he could mend it.
Well, he'd be too busy doing the Elvis show on it, wouldn't he?
Probably will. I'm saying, I bet he'll be saying, what's Matthew up to right now?
I bet he's wondering. Come on, Matthew, do you want to say hello to anybody?
And I'll talk about 3 more things. Mary and Jimmy, shout out to my friend Ian, a shout out to Stewie, and what can I go in after, Alan?
Well, you're in the hat automatically for a mug. If you get it, we'll send it out straight away, so you're in for that. Thanks, Matthew.
3 more things up there.
Quickly.
I'm saying, you know, did you listen to that new Abbey Road CD that came out, Alan? It's like a remake they made of Abbey Road this week. It released on Friday. It's anniversary of, you know, the Beatles anniversary. Yeah. Did you pick it up, the CD?
I did. I've had a look at it. It's nice.
Is it good?
Yes, isn't it?
Right. 2 more things now, and then I'll be on my way because I've been on it a long time and I know. Okay. I'm sorry.
Right. No problem.
You know, do you like the Keane music? You know, Keane, Everybody's Changing.
Yeah, well, they're coming on to the City Hall, I think, soon.
They're my favourite band. You know why I like them? Because, you know, when I listen to the Keane song, Ian, looks at it and he giggles. He says, what are you doing? That's what I'm singing.
Well,
one more thing and I'll go.
Go ahead.
Do you think it's going to snow this Christmas? I do not know.
I think it's going to be nasty this Christmas is what I reckon. Yep. I think it's going to be a tough time.
I wish isn't Night Owls going to be on over Christmas on the Sunday? Will it still be the same on the Sunday?
It'll be on a Sunday right the way through, so I have no worries about that. Good to hear from you.
Good night, Alan.
Bye, Matthew. I will do, definitely. Thanks for coming on. There you go. And we also have Sean from Concerts with us. And here he is. Hello, Sean.
Hello, son. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you kindly.
I don't know nothing about computers, like.
Much of that was bluff. So anyway,
Well, what about spitting image? Who was your favourite spitting image?
Probably somebody that most modern politicos never even have heard of. I thought the dark-faced Norman Tebbit was actually quite funny.
Do you know who my favourite was?
What's that?
Roy Hattersley. Roy Hattersley when he's spitting all over the place.
We need something like that again because we've got politicians that were destined to be cartoon characters.
It's coming back, you know, but it's going to America first, around.
Right. Well, I mean, they've got plenty too, haven't they?
No, but if it'll not come back over to this country if they want to get rid of it, if they're taking the mickey out of Trump.
Right.
That's the reason why it's going to America first.
Yeah, I can see.
I don't think it'll come back to this country.
Who knows? If there's money to be made, it'll be here. Don't you worry.
But I thought it was a fantastic series. Like
it was just because it was different to everything else. Absolutely, but it was also completely different to anything else, and it was like having you got your head around it. It was like having the real politicians.
Can you imagine the snow? Can you imagine the snowflakes coming out and watching? Oh, you cannot have the Queen having a vodka. You know what I mean? They'll all go mad, won't they?
Just probably having one right now, I would imagine.
they'll all go ballistic over what went on in the 80s and spitting image. You know what I mean? Oh, you cannot show that.
Yeah.
That's wrong. That probably
shocking.
But they'll probably have a what was it? A reunion to turn around and say, oh, not a reunion, man. What do you call it when you vote something out? I can't remember what you call it.
Don't worry about it. That's no
but we'll probably have one of them to try and get rid of it lately.
Yeah, possibly.
Like everything else.
Yeah.
What do you think about Nigel Benn coming back after 55-year-old?
I was quite.
I think he's a bit of a half-wit like me. Like I think he's just doing it for money.
I felt the same way that I did when Muhammad Ali, right at the very end, even though he was not thinking straight, came out and says, "I'm going to get back in the ring again," and you just knew it was going to be the end of him if he did, and it was. I just think that you've got to get to a certain time and say.
He's only 40-year-old, you know, he's going to be fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he's 55.
Yeah.
Half a sight, my God. You know what I mean?
Doesn't bear thinking about the potential for damage, but presumably he's poor. He's skint. He's skint.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is, and he needs the cash. I mean? It's horrible that he's in that situation, but the thing is, if you're used to money, and suddenly all the money's not there, it maybe hits you more than what it's like for the rest of us who are, just making amends and just getting by. That's the thing. So, hey, who knows? Anything else?
How old are you on Tuesday?
Oh, old enough. I think I've served me time,
well,
definitely.
You'll not be 60 yet, are you?
No. Heaven forbid. Heaven forfend.
Not be long, though.
No, it'll be as long as I can hold it back. That's the truth. Hey, Sean, good talking to you, man.
All the best, and
thanks,
your birthday.
Bless you. Bye-bye. 0191 488 3188. Yeah, it's only a million number. We laugh at the passage of time, do we? Until your knee starts first thing in the morning. Oh, my knee's gone again. Anyway, let's crack on with a piece of music. And this is something that I've just been reading about, so I can actually tell you. You know, Peter Gabriel made a song called Salisbury Hill. Great song, love it. And I'm thinking, but it's not Salisbury, not Salisbury Hill. It's Salisbury Hill. And I didn't know anything about it, so I had to have a look. And do you know that Salisbury Hill, the real one, it's not far from Bath in Poshland, southern Jesseland. Salisbury Hill was an old Iron Age fort, and it was defended between 300 BC and 100 BC. And it fortified the edge of the Cotswolds. They had a temple on it to the legendary king of the Britons, Bladud, and also they used it, the Saxons used it, during the siege of Bath in 577. And when they were digging recently, they found marks where 30 wooden huts used to be based, because obviously not all forts were like brick forts with turrets and stuff. A lot of the old-fashioned ones, pre-biblical times, were made of wood. So there you go, strange but true. The Battle of Baden in 496 between the Saxons and the British, remembering that the Saxons came from Europe and in Scandinavia. That was the big battle that was fought there, and they found swords and shields and what was left of some of the sandals in the mud in that very special place. So now when he sings about it, you'll go, oh, all right, there you go.